Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here on my next video, and it would stand to reason that since this is a Saturday just after the Friday on which a new episode of Transformers Prime is aired, that this video would be a video review of that episode. So thank you Optimus for that amazing line. It would stand to reason. Say it every episode, but it's great. But anyway, getting into this review. The episode I'm going to be reviewing is 311, which is Season 3, Episode 11, Beast Hunters, and the title is Persuasion. Now, overall, I think this was a good episode. I'd rate it very similarly to the last episode. Not as good as most of the rest of the season, but overall still quite good, because this has been a very high quality season. Further continuing this, I suppose, plot line that's definitely setting up the big finale of at least the TV show portion of Beast Hunters, because we know it's going to end with a TV movie finale, which is basically going to be episode 14, 15, and 16. But there's still some nice character moments here, some nice setup, and of course, for me, the big highlight of the episode is Ratchet and Megatron and their interactions. The persuasion part of this episode is really good, in my opinion. But let's get into this. First of all, there is no title music or anything like that. No opening for the show. It's just usual opening scene. They show the title card, like Transformers Prime Beast Hunters, and then boom, straight into the rest of the episode. So they clearly were very strapped for time on this episode and needed those extra few seconds that the intro would have taken up to add it to the rest of the episode. So that's interesting by itself. But we continue on after the end of the last episode. Basically ended two stories in midair, that being the Optimus Predaking fight and the Wheeljack Ultra Magnus Bumblebee RC taking on Shockwave sort of thing before it even began. And we pretty much get those resolved within the first few moments of this episode. Optimus vs. Predaking, the fight continues and it's still pretty good, I think. There's a very nice moment in the fight where they're kind of locking arms, and then Optimus just headbutts Predaking to kind of take a little bit of an advantage. And I just like that move, and just showed that Predaking is kind of underestimating Optimus a bit here, and that's the reason he doesn't get the full-on victory, even though he begins to take the advantage after that, and it's only Megatron calling him back that stops it. But I like that. I like that they don't leave a kind of out-and-out winner in this fight, that they gave Optimus some big moments, gave Predaking some moments, and it's quite even between the two, before what I assume will be a kind of big climactic battle between the two eventually, or something like that. Quite nice. Then we get the Ultra Magnus stuff, basically, and his team comes in to take on Shockwave, and the gist of this is that it's Ultra Magnus fighting Shockwave, and I really did like the interaction between these two, because you had that joke between the two, of the unsaid joke of the fact that these are both guys with only one normal hand. Ultra Magnus has the claw for his other hand, and Shockwave has a gun arm as his other hand. So that was nice by itself. And instead of going down that road, what they did was basically like, hey, you're a one-armed guy here, and that was a joke by Shockwave. And then I'd rather have one bum arm than only have one working eye, and I was just like, that is brilliant. Why does Shockwave only have the one eye? That's pretty awesome, and I like that. Then the kind of these two plots kind of come back together again, and Predaking, under Megatron's orders, saves the day basically by saving Shockwave and also taking the piece of equipment they were looking for as well. And it means the Autobots lose this kind of battle, and the Decepticons basically get one of the final pieces of their thing that they're building. We go from there into some very nice Ratchet stuff with Megatron at the start of this. instantly they tried the cortical psychic patch, which has worked before, but it obviously doesn't work this time because Ratchet hasn't perfected the formula. He just has done some research on it and is in the best position to finish off the formula. So they're not going to get any like concrete answers out of that. And I like that they used it because it made sense that they use it. Why wouldn't they? But it also made sense that it didn't work in this case, and that's why they needed to persuade him over the course of this episode to join them. And the persuasion is really good because it does something interesting with Ratchet in that this is the character who was the most upset about the Omega Lock being destroyed by Optimus. He had arguably one of the most emotional moments in the whole show when he talked to Optimus about why did you do that, and that I needed Cybertron to be back. So this is a perfect position to put Ratchet in to get those emotions coming back and give him this decision, and it works very well here because straight away Megatron kind of comes in with the fact that I know you're not just gonna flat out, like do this for me because I'm gonna threaten you or anything like this, but what about this? I'm not actually doing this just to be evil. I'm doing this to revive Cybertron. And that's what's going to get Ratchet. That's what gets Ratchet thinking that, wait, as bad as it is that I'd be helping Megatron, I'd be doing a good thing in reviving Cybertron. And he obviously tries his best to convince himself otherwise because this is the same guy who ripped out Bumblebee's voice box, something that affects Ratchet too. He's the same guy who basically led to Cybertron being destroyed in the state that it is in the first place. And all of that kind of almost pales in comparison to the fact that if he joins them, there's the potential for revived Cybertron. And I like that because it makes sense for this hero character to actually consider this. And you see it on his face in every scene that he's thinking hard about this. And, eventually we get into the situation where Megatron says, cooperate or we'll destroy your base. We know where it is now. And in a moment of amazing Decepticon characterization, he immediately, upon offering this basically deal, which is like a blackmail to Ratchet, sends Starscream out anyway to destroy the base. Like, that's perfect Decepticon tactics. Offers him the thing that may get them to agree to it, but don't give them the good thing they were out for in the first place. That was perfectly done, I think, and I really like that. He just comes in, it's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Starscream, destroy the base. Off you go, and that was great. Little Megatron Predaking interaction, once again, like the last episode, it's only one scene, and we see Megatron attempting to manipulate Predaking into a situation where he can better control him. In that Predaking wants to get the Autobot on the ship off the base in the first place, and Megatron kind of points out to him that you're not seeing the full picture here. We're going to use Ratchet to help revitalize Cybertron, which you want, but to kind of get in Predaking's good books, he's just like, once we've used all that he's good for, you can have him, you can kill him, and that was interesting that Megatron still fears Predaking in some way, but he's still one guy. Megatron holds all the power here. But if Predaking gets allies, he's going to become a huge threat. So he's very wary around him, and it's a nice dynamic between two really powerful characters. Now, on to the most controversial part of the episode. The base obviously is found, and Starscream attacks it. And in one of the most baffling decisions I have ever seen in a TV show, Starscream only destroys the base that he thinks they're in, even though there's 5 other identical hangars next to it that humans have launched ships from that are attacking them, and he only destroys the one base that he thinks it is without fully confirming it. Just blows it up, sees it's on fire, leaves. Doesn't confirm anything. Why? I like the idea. The idea is clever, that it's ultimately just a coat of paint that tricks them. That's a nice idea, but they don't really highlight how last resort this plan is, how silly and zero chance of working this plan has. Because it makes no sense. Why would you just destroy the one base? It's just baffling to me. Um, because look, what they ultimately do is they paint the hangar E into F and F into E, which tricks the Starscream into only destroying hangar F, thinking it was E, which leaves the Autobots' actual base unharmed. That's good, but like, what about when they find out that the Autobots base hasn't been destroyed? Are they going to like address that next episode, that that the Autobots still have a base, and that Starscream only destroyed one of them? I hope, to give this scene some credit, that Megatron kind of eats Starscream out over this, that he really gives out to Starscream over like this silly decision, because that's one of the big problems we had with Beast Hunters so far, is the inconsistency of Starscream, and that at times he's super conniving and he's that Starscream that we all know and love, but too many times I think they're making him comedy relief, incompetent, and this is another one of those moments. This is the sort of thing he was good at the end of last season, that basically won the day for the Decepticons. Searching out and destroying stuff with his armada. Does it here, but doesn't do it fully. And I just don't get why the writers didn't see that everyone would ask the question, why didn't he destroy the other bases as well? Just for the sake of it. He's a Decepticon, why wouldn't he? That's the sort of thing they like to do. Mindless destruction. I don't know. Then, coming back to the rest of the kind of Megatron stuff with Ratchet, Megatron offers Ratchet nothing in return for his cooperation. And I really like that. That Megatron knows that he has something for Ratchet here, that he's not going to blackmail Ratchet into doing anything or anything like that. He's not going to even offer him, like, I'll spare your friends, I'll spare the base if you do this anymore. He's just like, help us if you want, because you're getting something out of this too. If you help us, you'll have restored Cybertron. And, you know, once that's done, it's Autobots Decepticons again. We're not going to send you back to the base unharmed. It's up to you. You can save our world or not. And that was interesting in that Megatron very cleverly put Ratchet into this position that kind of made it all up to Ratchet, that Ratchet was almost doing something evil, not agreeing to it in some ways, and I like that. He further kind of gets him to do it with the nice lab, having all the equipment. I just really like that scene where he picks up the thing, it's just like, only 2 of these were made, and then Megatron's like, actually, there were 3, as he comes over, and he's just like, how do you know that, Megatron? That was nice. Then, a slightly confusing moment for me again, the reveal of this second Omega Lock, or whatever it is. The Decepticons ship pulls up over something, and it looks like a giant space bridge with some buildings attached to it. And that's what they refer to as an Omega Lock. You know, you've done it, you've created a new Omega Lock. All we need is the cyber matter. But why did the last episode specifically show the original Omega Lock? We know that was the Omega Lock because they put the Omega keys into it. And that in that episode in Season 2, the keys activated a beam which shot into Cybertron first, I think, to create one new building. Then Megatron decided to put it through the space bridge to reach Earth. So they used the space bridge to get to Earth, but in this case it looks like the Omega Lock is a space bridge or something like that. Now, what has me confused here is the fact that they showed the original one, yet it appears as if they're making a new one and they were talking about like repairing it or something like that. Now I'm just kind of a bit confused, like, is this kind of like a portable Omega Lock where they can do it or something like that? If that's the explanation, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant idea of a kind of portable Omega Lock, but I'm slightly confused. I don't think the show is explained enough about what exactly this is. That's my problem here. Probably the comments will explain it to me better, but I just feel the show didn't do enough. But then at the next one, this is another slight complaint I had with the episode. Raph was basically turned into Ratchet in this episode. It was just one scene, and it was done for humor, but I felt they did it so overdid it, and that was making Ratchet be a huge influence on Raph here when he's put in charge of, put into the basically the Ratchet role, where they have to make this thing to get Laserbeak kind of to find the part of Laserbeak, the transponder, to find the ship, and Raph just basically says Ratchet's three kind of catchphrases all in a row. The whole yip yip yip, I needed that, and he's grumpy. Those are the three things that Ratchet's kind of known for, and he does them all in the space of like 5 seconds. Not just that Raph in his own voice did that. I think the voice acting wasn't done right here in that it sounded like Raph was kind of taking off Ratchet. He was doing an impression of Ratchet here, as opposed to being influenced by him and kind of taking on some of his mannerisms. The voice actor for Raph, I felt, did a really kind of comedic yip yip yip, and it just didn't sound like anything Raph would ever say. It wasn't like in Raph's voice yip yip yip. He really went into the Ratchet voice, and that's what I didn't like. And even that I needed that, it sounded like he was doing an impression of Ratchet, and that's what I didn't like here. I liked the idea that Raph has been so influenced by Ratchet that he's taking on his mannerisms. They just didn't need to do it as blatantly as they did it here. Raph can also now read Cybertronian thanks to the help of Ratchet. That was a nice thing to, I suppose, add into the mannerisms as before. I would like it explained eventually how he even knows how to understand Bumblebee's beeps and how he understands Cybertronian exactly and no one else can. There's probably a simple explanation, but I think they do need to do it. It's nice G1 reference, I think, making Wheeljack a bit of an inventor here, helping to create this chip thing. The chipped name being a G1 reference as well, Chip Chase. And the idea of them kind of making this thing out of Laserbeak's wing fragment is interesting, especially with the reference earlier on in the episode that if Ratchet agrees to help them, that he's going to have access to the Decepticon ship's shielding kind of mechanisms, he could turn it off. And I think they referenced it here that they need to get rid of the Decepticons' shielding for this idea to work, so that might link in together, that's nice. Final thing is just the scene with Fowler and Jack from near the end of the episode. Fowler looks at the Apex armor and really kind of ponders, like, if the humans had these, it wouldn't be so much of a reliance on the Autobots to protect everyone, because they're going to be gone. And if the human defense force, had these things on their agents, things would be a lot better. And any references, like, Jack, you could be an agent, you're nearly coming of age, and he referenced something that I've been waiting for a while, and that is the whole Jack is basically a human prime, and that he has that potential. He's basically Optimus in human form in a way, because they did the whole thing at the start of season 2 where he was the one who carried the Matrix while Optimus was Orion Pax again, and that sort of thing, and they just kind of forgot about it up until now, basically, where Agent Fowler thinks he could be a really good agent, and I like that. And then some nice Fowler-June dynamic again, showing that their relationship, I suppose, is continuing to kind of blossom. It wasn't just a one-off thing in +1, and that they're talking about Jack's future, and that's a nice thing. And I hope they actually do something with the Fowler-June romance. Not enough shows, I think, just out and out just go for their kind of romances and stuff like that. So I hope they do something there. But that's my review. I have a few problems with it. The baffling Starscream only destroying one hangar thing, the Raph turning into Ratchet thing, and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was good. It was great setup for what's to come, and I just hope that things get a bit more epic, I suppose, in the next few episodes. That's the thing I'm looking for here. A bit more epic, a bit more like really good character stuff between the characters, and that's really all I need, I think, going forward. Really good episode so far. I will see you again with the next video next week, but thank you for watching this one, and bye.